The National Electrical Code, or NEC, mandates that service entrance, or C cable be as short as possible. It is important to note that the code does not provide a specific length requirement. The primary reason for minimizing SE cable length is to mitigate the risk of voltage drop and associated power loss. Longer cable runs inherently exhibit greater resistance, resulting in a more pronounced voltage drop. This voltage drop can adversely affect the performance of appliances and equipment that demand a specific voltage level for proper operation. As a general guideline, most inspectors find an SE cable length of 5 feet or less acceptable. However, some inspectors might impose even stricter length limitations. Therefore, consulting with your local electrical inspector is essential to ascertain the precise requirements applicable to your area. Consider the scenario where an inspector approves an installation with an SE cable exceeding 18 inches inside the wall during a rough-in inspection. Even with this approval, it is possible that the inspector intends to consult with the service inspection inspector. There is a chance that the service inspection inspector might hold a different viewpoint and potentially mandate a reduction in the SE cable length. To avoid potential complications during the service connection phase, it is advisable to proactively contact the service inspection inspector. Inquire about the specific SE cable length requirements applicable in your jurisdiction. This proactive approach can preemptively address concerns and ensure compliance. The considerations for service entrance cable length within a building involve several factors, primarily related to safety and electrical performance. The NEC doesn't specify an exact length but emphasizes keeping it as short as practicable. Here's a breakdown of why and what to consider. Firstly, minimizing voltage drop is important. Longer cable runs increase resistance, leading to voltage drop. Excessive voltage drop can cause appliances to function inefficiently, overheat, or even fail prematurely. The shorter the SE cable, the less voltage drop. Secondly, reducing the risk of damage matters. The SE cable is a critical component, and minimizing its exposure within the building reduces the potential for physical damage from things like punctures, abrasion, or excessive bending. Thirdly, limiting exposure to heat is important. Although SE cable is designed to withstand heat, unnecessary exposure to high temperatures can degrade the insulation over time, potentially leading to short circuits or ground faults. The shorter the run, the less exposure. Fourthly, maintaining accessibility is essential. While the code prioritizes a short run, it also requires that the service entrance equipment remains accessible for maintenance and inspection. Avoid routing the SE cable in a way that makes it difficult to reach the main breaker or other components. Now let's consider installation practices. The NEC mandates that SE cable be supported and secured properly. Use appropriate straps or cable ties to prevent sagging or movement. Avoid sharp bends that could damage the cable's insulation. Also, protect the cable from physical damage where it passes through walls or floors. Use conduit or other protective measures to shield the cable. When the cable enters the building, seal the opening to prevent the entry of moisture, rodents, or other pests. Use appropriate sealant or expanding foam. The type of cable used will be service entrance cable, designated as SE cable. This cable is specifically designed for this purpose and is available in various sizes and configurations. Choose the appropriate size cable based on the calculated load for the service. Consult the NEC for guidance on conductor sizing. The location of the service panel influences the cable length. Position a service panel as close as possible to the point where the SE cable enters the building. This minimizes the cable length inside the structure. Local amendments matter. Local jurisdictions may have additional requirements or interpretations regarding SE cable length. Always check with the local building department or electrical inspector to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. Failure to comply with these requirements can result in failed inspections and delays in energizing the service. Therefore, careful planning and execution are essential. To summarize, while the NEC doesn't dictate a specific length for SE cable inside a building, the general principle is to keep it as short as practicable to minimize voltage drop, reduce the risk of damage, limit exposure to heat, and maintain accessibility. Always follow the NEC guidelines, use appropriate installation practices, and consult with local authorities to ensure compliance. This ensures a safe and reliable electrical service for the building. Consider the practical implications of running service entrance cable. It's not just about following a rule, it's about creating a safe and efficient electrical system. When you keep the SE cable run short, you are directly impacting the performance and longevity of the electrical system and connected devices. Let's break down the key reasons in more detail, expanding on the initial points. Firstly, voltage drop has a tangible impact. Imagine a long garden hose. The further you are from the faucet, the weaker the water pressure. Similarly, a long SE cable run acts like a long hose, reducing the pressure of the electricity reaching your appliances. This is voltage drop. When voltage drops too low, lights dim, motors run sluggishly, and electronic devices may malfunction. A short SE cable run minimizes this effect, ensuring that your electrical system operates at its designed voltage. Secondly, think of the SE cable as the main artery of an electrical system. Minimizing the risk of physical damage is akin to protecting that artery from injury. A long, exposed cable run is vulnerable to accidental damage from things like nails, screws, or even rodents. Such damage can compromise the insulation, leading to short circuits, ground faults, and potentially fires. A shorter, well-protected run reduces this risk significantly. Thirdly, heat buildup in electrical cables is a real concern, especially under heavy loads. Resistance in the cable generates heat as electricity flows through it. The longer the cable, the more resistance and the more heat is generated. Excessive heat can degrade the cable's insulation, reducing its lifespan and increasing the risk of failure. A shorter run minimizes heat buildup, promoting a cooler and safer electrical system. Fourthly, accessibility is crucial for maintenance and repairs. Electrical systems, like any other mechanical system, require periodic maintenance and occasional repairs. The service panel, where the SE cable terminates, is the central point for these activities. If the SE cable is routed in a convoluted or inaccessible way, it makes it difficult and potentially dangerous for electricians to work on the system. A short, direct run to an easily accessible service panel simplifies maintenance and repairs, saving time and money in the long run. Now let's delve into some specific installation scenarios and best practices. Firstly, consider the point of entry. Carefully plan where the SE cable will enter the building. Choose a location that is as close as possible to the service panel and that minimizes the amount of cable needed inside the structure. Avoid routing the cable through areas where it is likely to be exposed to physical damage or extreme temperatures. Secondly, proper support is essential. Use appropriate cable straps or clamps to secure the SE cable along its run. These supports should be spaced according to the manufacturer's recommendations and the requirements of the NEC. Ensure that the supports are made of materials that are compatible with the cable and that they will not damage the insulation. Thirdly, protection against physical damage is crucial. Where the SE cable passes through walls or floors, provide adequate protection to prevent damage. This can be achieved by using conduit, sleeves, or other approved methods. The protective material should be durable and resistant to abrasion and impact. Fourthly, sealing penetrations is important. Where the SE cable enters the building, seal the opening to prevent the entry of moisture, rodents, and other pests. Use a sealant that is specifically designed for this purpose and that is compatible with the cable and the building materials. Proper sealing not only protects the electrical system, but also helps to maintain the integrity of the building envelope. Fifthly, consider the grounding system. The SE cable is an integral part of the building's grounding system. Ensure that the grounding conductor within the SE cable is properly connected to the grounding electrode system. This connection is critical for providing a safe path for fault currents and for minimizing the risk of electric shock. Lastly, documentation is essential. Keep a record of the SE cable installation, including the cable size, length, routing, and grounding connections. This documentation will be valuable for future maintenance and repairs and can also be helpful for troubleshooting problems. Remember, working with electricity can be dangerous. If you are not comfortable working with electrical systems, it is always best to hire a qualified electrician to perform the installation. A professional electrician has the knowledge, skills, and experience to ensure that the job is done safely and correctly. In summary, the length of the NEC cable from the panel to the wall is a critical consideration for the safety and performance of the electrical system. While the NEC doesn't specify an exact length, a general principle is to keep it as short as practicable. By minimizing the cable length, you can reduce voltage drop, minimize the risk of damage, limit exposure to heat, and maintain accessibility. Always follow the NEC guidelines, use appropriate installation practices, and consult with local authorities to ensure compliance. Also remember that service entrance cables must adhere to standards in the National Electrical Code, which is updated every 3 years, so regularly review any changes to the code to ensure compliance. It would be advantageous to review any local codes for the city, county, or the utility provider where you live. Also, keep in mind the proper ampacity for the service entrance cable must be sized according to the calculated load. Insufficient ampacity can lead to overheating and potentially hazardous situations. In addition, if you have aluminum conductors, make sure to use connectors and lugs specifically rated for aluminum to prevent corrosion and ensure a reliable connection. Also, when pulling NEC cable through conduit, use appropriate lubricants to minimize friction and prevent damage to the cable insulation. Furthermore, be mindful of the bending radius. Avoid sharp bends in the NEC cable, as this can damage the insulation and reduce its lifespan. Adhere to the manufacturer's recommended bending radius. In addition, consider future expansion. If there is a possibility of increasing the electrical load in the future, consider installing a larger service entrance cable to accommodate the potential increase. Also, ensure proper labeling. Clearly label the service entrance panel and all related components for easy identification and maintenance. Furthermore, install surge protection. Consider installing a surge protective device at the service entrance to protect against voltage surges and spikes. Also, schedule regular inspections. Have a qualified electrician inspect the service entrance and electrical system periodically to identify and address any potential problems. Another consideration, if you are using underground service entrance cable, ensure that it is buried at the correct depth according to local codes and regulations. Also, use warning tape or other markers to indicate the presence of the buried cable. Keep in mind that the NEC is not a design manual, so you might want to consult with an electrical engineer for complex installations to ensure optimal system design and performance. Furthermore, familiarize yourself with the relevant NEC tables and articles related to service entrance cables, such as those covering conductor sizing, overcurrent protection, and grounding requirements. And also, be aware of the environmental conditions. In areas with harsh environmental conditions, such as high humidity or corrosive atmospheres, take extra precautions to protect the service entrance cable and related components. Additionally, consider energy efficiency. Use energy-efficient appliances and equipment to minimize the electrical load and reduce the size of the service entrance cable required. Also, be aware of potential hazards, such as nearby trees or structures that could pose a risk to the service entrance cable. Take steps to mitigate these hazards. The NEC also includes provisions for the separation of different voltage systems. Ensure that the service entrance cable is properly separated from other low voltage and high voltage systems. Remember, safety is paramount. Always to energize the service entrance before working on any electrical components. Also, use appropriate personal protective equipment such as insulated gloves and safety glasses. Lastly, be prepared for emergencies. Keep a readily accessible emergency plan and contact information for the local utility company and emergency services.